All right, what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Just chilling here. I wanted to check out these Night Rain reviews.
In this Elden Ring Night Rain review, I'll be sharing my gameplay impressions after spending about 100 hours myself and 150 hours as a team collectively at Fextra Life, defeating all the bosses, unlocking most events,
Hey, buddy.
and exploring nearly all the content the game has to offer. So whether you're a hardcore Elden Ring fan wondering how Night Rain stacks up, or a new player curious to know if you can jump in without playing the original Elden Ring, this review is for you. This review will not go into specific story or NPC details, and we will keep
That
it
Archer
as
class looks cool.
spoiler-free as possible. We'll mostly show areas
buddy.
already shown in trailers and events, but if you're deathly against spoilers, you can kick back and listen to the audio or read our article on fextralife.com. Of
Damn,
course,
he's
it's
getting fucked up.
impossible not to spoil some basic intrinsic mechanics that have been already widely revealed, so we'll assume everybody knows about these in this review.
Umi wants to say
We'll
hello.
also need to cover other gameplay elements that are important to the gameplay loop, even if they haven't been revealed yet. Elden Ring Night Rain has an overarching story related to the universe of Elden Ring, but will primarily follow the short stories of the 8 classes or night fares through 8 different personal quest lines, and thus lacks the overall cohesive drive that the base game had. There isn't much opportunity to learn about what's happening in the actual world of Elden Ring, and you reach the endgame rather quickly, finalizing the main plot briskly
Bosses
and
look
without
sick,
too much
I
pomp and
think.
circumstance. That
Even the
being
repeat
said,
ones.
the character storylines are still quite
It'll be
well
fun.
done, giving intriguing glimpses into the life of other beings besides the Tarnished in the Elden Ring universe, which I've always been interested in. Character storylines unfold with special instances called remembrances, which can be quite entertaining to decipher and follow. Each
Umi,
character has a journal
what are
entry
you
that
doing?
adds pages of their history or biography based on your actions, and allows you to enter their remembrance, which activates some quest objectives for unlocking the next few pages. These objectives can be walking around the Roundtable Hold to various quest markers, a first for FromSoft, or it can be expedition objectives where you go to a quest marker in Limfeld.
Hey.
Sometimes you don't actually get a quest objective and the passage is left unfinished until you complete some event.
Here's
such
my
as
cat
killing a
ass.
specific boss.
Fuck are you
This can
doing?
be frustrating at times because if you go
There's
in
my
blind,
cat
you
ass.
probably won't understand some of the hidden multiplayer mechanics
buddy.
that affect these hidden
What are you doing?
objectives. For example, you're never told that you cannot matchmake with other people also doing a remembrance. Additionally, if you have a remembrance active in your party but aren't the party host,
Boomy
the
shows
host
his ass.
objective is prioritized and sometimes yours doesn't count. This added a degree of confusion because I could guess what the next step of my quest was when there was no objective, but it wasn't advancing my quest when I was doing it because I wasn't the host of the party, leading me to try other things
what do you
that
want,
led me
buddy?
nowhere. Besides that, the storylines and hidden lore of the game are enough to keep the very dedicated, interested in lore creators still in the game, but you should not expect
What
the
do you
level
want,
of
buddy?
detail of Elden Ring. But of course, the game
He's just
does have
fucking
the Elden Ring
staring
setting
at
going for it,
me.
and since it's seemingly canon,
What do you
there's an
want?
endless supply of speculation and theorizing to be had around the returning bosses from other titles and whether it all ties into a single evolving world or several collapsing realities. You can absolutely play this game with zero understanding of Elden Ring and not get spoiled about Elden Ring particularly, but the incredible groundwork of Elden Ring's very well-crafted world does an immense amount of caring to keep Night Rain mysteriously interesting and alluring. We have lauded Elden Ring as the best overall gameplay experience available on the market, and Night Rain has the difficult task of living up to that level of nuance and delivering a fresh take on the Souls formula.
They're never gonna live
So
up to that.
first, let's
You
talk
can't.
about the gameplay loop.
It's impossible.
From Software condensed the elements of Elden Ring's gameplay to create a fast-paced experience that gives you the highlights of RPG elements while focusing on the execution of combat.
Even if they were to do a sequel, like an Elden Ring 2, like a true successor to Elden Ring, you're never gonna surpass that impact that Elden Ring had, because Elden Ring, while hyped, it was very hyped up. It blew everyone away because no one had that level of hype for it, for what it actually lived up to. Elden Ring fucking took over the world when that shit came out, and that's never happened for FromSoft. That kind of Elden Ring pushed FromSoft into the fucking stratosphere. I mean, fans of Souls games like myself, we've always um, been super hyped for Elden Ring shit, or for FromSoft's releases, but fuck, dude. Now that everyone's kind of caught on, god damn, bro. It's totally different world now. Totally different. And you're never gonna like break that mold again, in my opinion. I'll fucking love it. It'll blow my fucking mind, but I'm like a diehard Soul or FromSoft fan. So it's not really fair.
This means that your gameplay loop feels like a very fast-timed exploration of Limgrave and Elden Ring through expeditions, followed by some idle time in Roundtable Hold. The core focus of the game is the expeditions where you set out with 2 other players to conquer Limveld. To summarize a general run, you'll drop into a random point on the map, clear out some enemies, and level up to level 2. Then you'll spend about 5 minutes clearing out several locations to get loot and passive
I love that
bonuses
spell.
before the Night Rain
So
really
fucking
closes
good.
in and engulfs a portion of the map, just like a Battle Royale game. You'll do this twice before facing the first boss, get a special bonus after defeating it, and then the Night Rain will clear and you'll explore the map for 1 more day. The boss at the end of the second day is generally harder, and afterwards you'll spawn into the final boss room, where you do last-minute upgrades and face the final challenge. If your teammates ever die at any point in the run, you pick them up by shooting them or attacking them, and if you all die, then you lose a level.
Yeah,
However, if
that's
you
my
all
dog
die
right
facing
there,
an
bro.
end-of-day boss, you will lose the
Look
run.
at the Nameless King,
That's
baby.
the general loop of every run you will do in the game.
Oh,
Progression in
yeah.
Elden Ring Night Rain is defined only by a few aspects. The aforementioned journal entries and relics you acquire from going out on
Hey, buddy.
expeditions.
What are you doing?
Relics are items which you can equip
What are you
onto your
doing?
character for special bonuses in your next expedition, which can be quite game-changing, especially with the unique relics you get from unlocking journal entries. At
Hey,
first
buddy.
glance, the refashioned
I know.
Round Table Hold looks like it has a wealth
Hey.
of content, but it surprisingly doesn't deliver
What?
much. Any NPCs or characters in the hold will only say a few lines and provide little in terms of content. As such, the ultimate objective of the endgame becomes simply unlocking outfits with currency you get from finishing expeditions. That being said, the outfits absolutely can be a highlight, as there's some
Oh,
nice fan service
dude.
with characters from original Souls-like titles making
Solaire.
their appearance.
Oh shit!
However,
Look at
they
him,
are
dude.
somewhat mediocre when it comes to nostalgia, given that there are only about 6 per character, which is very limiting considering the multitude of
Yeah.
options available for Elden Ring in terms of fashion.
Have a
Overall,
little
though, the
onion,
progression
bro.
can be
That's funny.
disappointing for anyone who enjoys character customization with stats and weapon combinations,
Yeah.
and there really isn't much in this department besides the basic class differences and relic
Yeah.
stat bonuses. If you're a one-class kind of person, it can feel a bit monotonous, and you'll be focusing on simply completing your class's objectives and moving on to the next Night Lord as soon as you can. However, if you're the type of player to try out many different characters and classes, you'll probably feel like there's a good overall
This character looks
tempo.
cool.
You'll activate an objective or quest in your remembrance, go on an expedition, return to continue the next step, then rinse and repeat for the rest. You can mix things up by spending time in Round-Tabled Hold on the sparring ground to try out different weapons. And
Oh, that's
understanding
cool. They
your
have like a
character
training
better,
area.
or tinkering with your relics and outfits. The loop within Limveld is actually really fun once you become a bit more accustomed to what you're doing. I strongly recommend that new players check out our beginner guide and set the Fextra password for both group and party matchmaking so that you can find more free loot in the landscape from defeated players, and so that you can pair up with community members who will be a bit more experienced with the game. We'll also be live streaming and playing with the community at launch using the same password to help out those in need. Remember that this password is all capitals. The expedition
cool.
flow feels extremely fast and rushed at first, and many times your party will be defeated quickly from mistakes that come with not knowing the layout or from running into random events and shifting earth situations that change the map completely and set up deadly traps and bosses in your path without always a matching reward. As you get used to these and learn the best routes, you really get good and get in the zone and will be able to get to the Night Lord and eventually beat any boss with ease, with the game becoming about making it work with any party
Scorpion.
combination and gameplay style.
Damn, that thing
If
looks
you're playing
crazy.
solo, the game is very challenging but really rewarding, and it's probably where you might end up after you've really mastered multiplayer if you enjoy a serious challenge. There are a total of 8 classes to play, dubbed Nightfarers in Elden Ring Night Rain.
We
each with their
haven't
own
seen the
unique abilities
Revenant.
and stat scalings. This means you won't really be able
And
to
we
turn
just
a mage
saw
class
the
into a tank, as you'll be
Executor,
limited by available weapons and their
which is
fixed
what I'm
ceilings.
going to play.
And as of the base launch, there are 2 Nightfarers that you
Yeah.
unlock after playing some time, and it can be fun to acquire them, but I do hope that they continue adding more with updates, which it seems like they will. The list of Nightfarers and their specifics is available on the Night Rain wiki, so I won't repeat them here, but to be brief, you have 3 strength-focused classes, 1 Dex Int caster, an archer, a melee Dex option, a faith character, and finally an intelligence faith mage. They can all use any weapon, but you'll find yourself hunting for the specific best option for your Nightfarer if you want to have really good runs. The difference between each Nightfarer doesn't end there, though, with each possessing 3 unique abilities and starter weapons, which heavily impact gameplay. Mastering your Nightfarer's unique skills and their possible hidden mechanics is very important to being successful as a team player, since you will find a well-timed skill can be the difference between success and a wipe. For example, the Executor Nightfarer is a parry-focused class, but it's not written anywhere that switching between his regular sword and his Suncatcher sword counts as a parry when you switch, which really smooths out his gameplay. We'll have a dedicated classes and ranking video coming at launch, as well as in-depth class guides.
Do you get health
Wanna
on
get
parries
ahead,
as
make
well?
sure to check out
Oh,
our
that's
Night
sick
Rain
as
corners.
fuck.
Gathering the right equipment on a run is a key factor that makes the combat in this game work, and Night Rain brings a significant amount of weapons and spells for you to experiment with, alongside some
Ooh.
talismans and consumables. There are 244 weapons, 66 bows and crossbows, 37 shields and torches, 19 staves and seals, and 61 talismans in Elden Ring Night Rain. Equipment is random and cannot be changed or infused, and there are no Ashes of War or Spirit Ashes loot, so every run is a bit of an RNG lottery to try and find something that you like and see what build you can
True
make.
roguelike,
Weapons
you know.
have fixed stats and sometimes random skills, and staves and seals have one fixed spell and one random spell attached when they drop. All armaments have random weapon bonuses that don't necessarily match the armament, so you may get guard boosting on your staff, for example.
Yeah.
A huge part of Night Rain is the weapon variety that you play with on each run, which can drastically change the way you play. Picking up iconic weapons from Elden Ring like Rivers of Blood, Sword of Night and Flame, and Malekith's Blackblade feels amazing and creates different experiences each time. Of course, some classes like Wilder can take advantage of this more than others because of their inherent stats and skills, so your mileage will vary a bit depending on which character you play. The only real negative here is that there's absolutely no additions in terms of equipment besides the starter gear that Nightfarers get, as these have all been reused from Elden Ring. If you were hoping for just a bit more new stuff to be added, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Now onto the part where Night Rain really shines, the combat, and this should really be the height of the game for everyone, since this is the combat of Elden Ring, but tweaked some to be faster and snappier. The addition of class stats and class skills further dictates how you play in combat each run, within your team or even solo. This is not a new concept for gaming, but is relatively new for From Software, and this is something I would love to see more in future titles. Mixing class skills and ultimates with weapon skills and spells gives you exponentially more options in terms of things you can do with Elden Ring's combat formula, allowing for some really interesting builds. Take Recluse, for example, the mage class of the game. She can regain FP more easily than any other class in Night Rain thanks to her unique character skill. Imagine if she used Taker's Flame from the Blasphemous Blade and could just spam it at range because of her FP regain. How deadly would that be? Or what if you use Wilder, the Knight class, to tank with a Great Shield and use his Grappling Hook to stay within melee range of the boss at all times? The out-of-the-box thinking is what the Elden Ring and Souls community is known for, and I personally cannot wait to see what sort of things they discover in the coming months.
I can't believe
Even though
Executor
Elden Ring enemies have been
transforms into that
almost
big beast.
exclusively
It's
reused,
so fucking
it still
sick.
feels like a fresh experience fighting them with these new systems being added, because it changes your approach to fighting them, even if you fought a boss or enemy countless times before in Elden Ring. The speed with which you move allows you to determine when to fight and when to flee, really allowing you to control when you are comfortable engaging.
Oh.
Night Rain has been in development since 2021, so it looks and performs almost exactly like Elden Ring. This means the excellent design and art direction are carried over completely, and the world is intriguing and beautiful in its own unique fantasy painting style.
I don't get
will
how
still
big it
die
is.
on
Is
the
it just
hill that the
Limgrave size?
graphics engine needs an update, but the art direction carries their old engine hard enough that it doesn't really matter. Boss and enemy designs for new and returning bosses are very well realized, and the Night Lord boss fights are truly amazing spectacles, worthy of the long runs required to get to them. Performance-wise, we had a very good time with the game on PC, but lower-tier systems saw some frame drops and grabs here and there, particularly during the end-game boss fights, but the game is a smooth 60 FPS most of the time. I do want to note, though, that for some reason there is no way to change the FPS in the in-game menu settings, so you can't really uncap the FPS in any way. In terms of music, the audio track for the game is solid with many standout soundtracks. The main theme in the Round Table Hold, the Shrouded Round Table Hold, is especially a highlight as the perfect melancholic and nostalgic hub music to set the stage for your waiting time in between expeditions and those heavy conversations about your character's past. Boss and exploration themes are all around fantastic, and while I won't get into specifics in light of spoilers, it's enough to know that the original Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree composers are there for Night Rain, from what I can see in the art book. However, I was a bit disappointed with the digital art book that comes with the game, as it seems to only have 10 tracks currently and is missing almost all of the boss tracks at the time of this review. It is worth noting that the voice performances was not on the level of previous Souls titles or Elden Ring, and I was a bit disappointed by some stiff deliveries of dialogue without the level of talent that we've been spoiled by with From Software.
Yeah, From Software's voice talent's
Night Rain
ridiculous.
is not a long game in terms of its main story that can be completed in about 20 hours for an average player, depending on how fast you get into multiplayer matches and the skill of those you play with. Experienced groups can probably tear through the bosses in about 35 minutes a pop, but that's what comes later when you had a decent amount of time with the game. In terms of gameplay, it took me about 36 hours of game time to fully complete all remembrances for Revenant, Recluse, and Wilder, and do all bosses with them. If you plan on doing
Boomy, you paused it, buddy.
all characters, you can calculate quite a good amount of content.
You pause it
If the
again, you fuck.
costumes and quests are motivation enough to keep repeating the runs.
Oh, there he
The
is,
game's
dude. The
replayability is
Artorias.
very high thanks to the class variety and randomization
Come
of
on, buddy.
loot, and with DLC already announced as coming this
There you
year,
go.
we can expect this to become one of those games you keep coming back to seasonally as you want to check out new outfits, classes, and bosses, given the initial offering is somewhat
Boom.
low. The multiplayer, of course, adds an entire layer of interest to
Yeah,
this,
see,
as
it's
it's a
not the
very fun
biggest map.
aspect, but your in-game communication is limited to pins with no option for voice or written chat.
It's like upper limb
This can
grade.
be really frustrating when
Looks
other
like.
players don't quite understand that the party should
Size-wise.
stick together, or when you have players who prioritize only themselves and their own gear without helping you out as well. Selfishness has always been a problem of this type of game, so it's nothing new, but having no option to communicate this can lead to a poor experience that is coupled with the unavoidable penalty if anyone drops out of the game, even if you all decide to quit. The game warned us about this, and I did it anyway and seemed to have no issues, but this was during the review period where it could take an hour to find a match in Asia zones.
Wow.
Ultimately, we are all affected to some extent or another by From Software's now notorious P2P netcode that makes enemy health jump back up, parries not happen, missed dodges, interrupted connections, random disconnects, and the like. Despite being designed like a live service game, they still don't seem to have actually dedicated servers. Overall, these were not extreme issues, though, but it did make for a somewhat frustrating review experience that we hope is not going to carry over to the full launch, as people will be able to play with their regions and not across the world as we had to. Night Rain is sold at a rather reasonable price of $39.99 USD, which is quite a bargain these days. It's priced as an expansion would be, and it mostly feels like a game expansion, so that's
Shadow of the
probably the
Air Tree
correct
was
decision.
40 bucks, was it not?
With games becoming more expensive and gamers' budgets becoming more limited, there is a lot of pressure on the market to find a good compromise between developers and their audience. Night Rain accomplishes this, and the allure of its multiplayer hype should be motivation enough for any fan of the game who wants to jump in right away, particularly when the game is quite well polished with decent performance and minimal bugs. Final thoughts. After the absolute masterpiece of Elden Ring, From Software is in a really tight
So
spot
that's
to
what
demonstrate whether it can beat the industry odds and remain the king of fantasy RPGs, or whether it will go the way of previous legendary studios and become another Bethesda or BioWare. With corporate breathing down creative necks to increase profit margins and some overall tendencies of the series that I noted in my Has From Software peak video, Night Rain's co-op extraction format and announcement looked like a cache-in of recycled assets that could set the path of the studio to downfall. Fortunately, it seems that even if Night Rain is an experiment and maybe a slight cash-in by reusing assets from their now very valuable Elden Ring IP, the developer has managed to create a very engaging gameplay experience that will satisfy fans' desire for more multiplayer while keeping a distilled combat experience that is unequivocally fun. While heavy in recycled assets and somewhat thin on player progression rewards, the truth is that whether you love Elden Ring or not, Night Rain is a good and fun game that showcases the outstanding fun combat of Souls and its addictive multiplayer.
How is price point only at 8.5, dude?
Player at its best. If you have friends who have also played Elden Ring to play Night Rain with, I can 100% recommend buying this game on launch.
Yeah, good review. I'll definitely, we're definitely gonna be playing that, 100%. You know, that'll be a lot of fun, I think. Yeah, I think it'll be good. Yeah, dude. But for now, we have. So I reinstalled Dark Souls 3. Got it working a little bit. Haven't played it. I would like to reinstall the Ring. Do one last visit to the Elden Ring. Um, but we'll see. Oop, preload. Time for a preload. But yeah, that was good. I'll probably start up another stream here in a bit. So be back.